Welcome to Mormon Book Reviews, where an evangelical encounters the restoration. It's also a little bit of a hybrid of Mormon Media Reviews. With Rebecca Biblioteca, we wanted to just do a little Christmas shout out and a retrospective of this past year. Rebecca, welcome back to the program.
Thank you so much, and happy holidays. You look extraordinarily festive.
Thank you. Yes, I wore this for my stocking stuffer special last year, folks. So if you're still looking for last minute things, we got that. Although it'll be too late because we're going to be putting this right up to Christmas. And so what we wanted to do is just kind of do a little bit about the past, the year, and what we're maybe just this has been a crazy time, but also this is the time for reflection this time of year, and a look back. And we thought during this holiday season, it would be good to have this video. So, Rebecca, I'm going to ask you to ask me some questions, and I'm going to ask you some questions.
Well, there you go. That's only fair. Well, let's see. Looking back over the whole year, oh my goodness, it's just amazing. Can you think of any extraordinarily notable interview that you did? Maybe something that just kind of fell in your lap that you weren't expecting that turned out to be something amazing. Those are my favorite kinds.
Yeah, that's crazy because there are episodes that catch me off guard that get some episodes I think are going to get a lot of views. They don't. Another episodes like, oh, this one came out of the blue, and it's kind of fun how there's so many things that have happened this year. I think first of all, well, let's just get the big one out of the way. Of course, was the very first interview about the Joseph Smith daguerreotype,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And that was, of course, posted in the published in the John Whitman Historical Journal, which I'm a member of. And that Thursday, the announcement was made. This was national news. I mean, it was in the New York Times. It was on the Drudge Report. It was this big thing. And I just remember I had scheduled an interview for Friday morning, and it fell through at the last minute. And I was like, I don't have anything for Friday. And it's literally 9 o'clock on Thursday. And I reached out to John Hamer of the Community of Christ and said, hey, what would it take to get Lachlan Mackay on my program, who's a direct descendant of Joseph Smith, co-author of the paper, all right, and have him on. And John Hamer went to bat to me because he made the comment. He said, your channel would be the best channel for him to be the first to talk to. So here you have all this media throughout the world. You have all these other podcasters, and we beat everybody to the punch. It's the most viewed video on YouTube about the Joseph Smith daguerreotype. So that was really exciting. That was a big moment. But then there's other moments I think of. I think of me meeting Jeff McCullough of Hello Saints. And I knew right away, like, this guy's going to pass me up real fast because he's of course, his production values are brilliant. But I was one of the first people to bring Jeff McCullough to people's attention, So that's been an impactful interview. I've done two with him. And then just just all the different things I think about, the beautiful people I've met, the friends that I've met, and not only just about videos, but like this past year, I flew out to go to Mormon History Association, and go to Sunstone, and go to John Whitmer. And it's been a really great experience to be able to interact with some of the top scholars and just people who are regular folk who are just interested in Mormon history or folklore and all this kind of stuff, and be able to engage them. And so that's been really wild, doing that, getting to know people, which I'm really thankful for. Of course, this past year, I was a guest on Mormon Stories.
5 episodes.
Yeah,
Incredible.
a whole week, Monday through Friday of Mormon Stories. And so that was pretty impactful. Of course, that really helped the channel, but I still hear from people throughout the world who are maybe just watched it for the first time, and they're reaching out to me, and it meant a lot to them. So that's been, I mean, I could literally talk for a half hour about this remarkable year, but those are just the ones that kind of come to the top of my head, and others will probably reach there too. But yeah, it's just been really remarkable, just to engage. And this is the thing too. We're talking, I mean, I talk to everybody. There's nobody that doesn't want to talk to me, and everybody feels they're going to get a fair shake. And that's really become something truly unique. Nobody else is able to do, because I'm not in a camp. And like Dr. Randy Bell says, it's Switzerland of Mormonism. Now, this is a long-winded answer, but that kind of just off the top of my head is kind of some of the highlights. And
Yeah, no, there's a lot. If we did a recap show and did it right, it would be hours. So we
I would,
really,
yeah.
we really can't do that.
I would just say go back and watch those episodes, folks. Rewatch everything. But
Yeah,
it's
watch
been,
everything.
you know,
No,
this has been part of my journey. This has been, we're actually literally documenting also my personal journey as well on my program.
absolutely true. Yeah, because your program is you. I mean, you put yourself so into it, which is why I think everyone's so happy to come on, because they know it's you,
Mm-hmm.
and they will be treated fairly, and they'll have a wonderful time, and they'll be able to get their story out. And I think it's great.
Well, that's great. Thank you. Thank you. Did you have any more questions for me?
Oh, let me think. I love the story about the Joseph Smith picture because that did just fall in your lap.
Yeah.
Did you ever have an interview that started one way and then went a completely different direction? I love those kinds because I know you have. It'll be hard to come up with one right off the top of your head, but I feel like sometimes you think it's going to be one thing and then suddenly it's something else. And,
Oh,
which can be even more amazing.
there have been a lot of that. As a matter of fact, you
Yeah.
personally have experienced it doing
Yeah.
some of our stuff
Yep.
together, where literally the episode becomes something different than what we anticipated. I actually kind of think one of the things that was interesting to me was my Denver Snuffer interview. Okay.
And that was a big one too.
That was huge. That was
very
huge.
highly viewed. Yep.
And many people have told me it was the best interview ever done of Denver Snuffer. And I've watched just about every interview. Okay. And he's been on all the big shows, right? And one of the things that really struck me was there, I've studied Denver Snuffer. I've read his materials. And Casey Kern actually kind of helped me with some of the questions as well, because Casey's also an interesting guy who's just interested in him in general, not that, because he's fascinated by him as well. And of course, he's a faithful Latter-day Saint, but he's just, of course, then up until recently, Denver Snuffer's materials were considered, kosher. And now, of course, he was since excommunicated. But this is the thing. At the end of every single interview that Denver Snuffer ever did, he would always go and say, well, I'll never do that again. He literally, that's the last thing. Or, boy, this was a waste of my time. He would be like a joke, but kind of like, yeah, oh, what a real slog this was, or something, just something like that. And so I had this feeling when I'm doing the interview, you understand, like I ask him questions and he gives answers to questions. Well, I ask him about specific things about his encounters with the divine, and he reveals for the first time to anybody, including his followers, new revelatory information. And so at the very end, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to be really, really curious what Denver is going to say at the end of this interview. How is he? Because then I will say everything. And so he goes and he said, and so this is how he ends it. He said, the reason why I said the things I said on your program today is because you have the right spirit, Steve. That's why I said these things. And there was no, I wish I never did that, would have done this, or none of that. That's the first time I've ever heard him finish an interview like that, as far as I can recall. There might be somebody point out maybe he did something on another program. And that to me was his way of saying, like, Steve's all right. And so I have a good relationship with the restorationist movement that Denver Snuffer is affiliated with. So yeah, that was another fascinating interview. Well, I did enough talking. I think one of the most exciting things about this channel was the organic evolution of Mormon Media Reviews, right? And it's funny because it's something you and I had discussed. We actually thought we were going to do something, and that kind of fell through. And we just were like, okay, let's just do our own thing, because you and I, we have great chemistry, and we don't really have to work off a script or anything. We can just do our thing. Off the cuff, which is half the fun. And that's the thing. It's very organic, which is organic in the sense that this is how this formed. And folks, let me give you a backstory here. Rebecca we decided we're going to do an after show of Under the Banner of Heaven, right?
Exactly.
And so we do this, but this is the thing. Originally, Rebecca was just going to be a guest, and we were going to talk about it. I said, I'm going to have a different guest every week. Well, then the second week comes along, and I couldn't book anybody. So I was like, Rebecca, why don't you come back on? We'll do a second one. And then I start booking other guests. And then I said, oh, I got Jim Bennett. So,
Right.
Rebecca, I'm going to have Jim on. And then literally 45 minutes before we started taping, it hit me like, you know what? I think Rebecca should be my co-host. Maybe talk about that. That was kind of fun how that all evolved.
Yeah, no, that was because you invited me to do just the first Let's Talk About Under the Banner of Heaven, because I'm all things Mormon media. And so we had so much fun. And I remember going, oh, that was really awesome, and then you talked about how you were going to have other people, come in and talk. And I remember that I was sort of jealous. I was like, oh, I had so much fun doing that. Oh, that's awesome. He's going to have other guests. But God, it was so fun. So then when you got in touch with me again and said, why don't you come on with the other guests and we'll all talk together, I was like, yes.
That's great.
Because I was so intrigued. I mean, anticipating that, Under the Banner of Heaven, and then watching it. And, there's just so much to say about it. And I love the guests that we had on for that. We had Jim Bennett. We had, who else did we have? We had Lindsay Hansen Park. Oh my goodness. We had Benjamin Schaefer. We had Hannah Syriac. I mean, we had such a variety of people with different backgrounds. And to me, that was just absolutely fascinating. I just loved it. And by the time we had gone through all those guests, I'm like, I'm hooked. I don't want to stop doing this. I want to keep talking about this kind of thing, because there's so many, in addition to books, there's so many other things that come out in other forms of media that have to do with the restoration. So
Absolutely.
and I
Absolutely.
was
And I think,
glad that we could put that together.
well,
I
and
would have gone through withdrawals had we not.
yeah, so and unofficially, I think Mormon Media Reviews started with my interview with Spanky Ward, and whether or not we hope to tape something with him. So either by now it would have either been released, or we'll have a Christmas special for next year with Spanky.
Right.
But from the beginning, because I even thought, like, see, I'll give you the inside story on Spanky. So what happens is that I literally need to book. I don't have a book guest. I'm in Northern Florida, and I'm like, so I go to the LDS Media Association Facebook page and said, hey, is there anybody that wants to maybe come on my program where I can promote the upcoming LDS Media Association conference, which was coming up, but also just talk about yours thing. And Spanky stepped up to the plate. I'll do it. I'm like, okay. So the next day or whatever, we're taping, and I'm thinking, okay, this is a movie guy, and this really isn't books. So I was trying to think of, like, okay, I gotta, but then it made me realize, oh, it started expanding the horizons of the channel, where it would just be more than just books, right? And that was a great episode. And then I think the evolution then comes with Nick Jones and I. We did our Christmas Snows, Christmas Winds the conversation, which of course now we have already released our episode where we actually got permission from Brigham Young University. And I just want to ask you, Rebecca, because it's been such an adventure for you. You're meeting people and you're getting invites to go on other podcasts, and this was literally, I'm sitting in my car and I'm like, oh, maybe I think I'm going to do this Under the Banner Heaven thing here. So I literally call you, and I think our phone gets disconnected about 2 or 3 times. You're with Randy and everybody. You're all road tripping somewhere. I'm like, what do you think? Okay, let's go for it. So again, nothing was really planned per se. It all just kind of happened. So tell me what it's been like for you.
Well, I think it's funny because I have a lot of what I considered kind of useless knowledge about Mormon media and video. I mean, I've talked before about how I didn't really have other media growing up and just watched those church videos and all that, have always followed it. So it's just kind of, in my head. And now suddenly I have a venue that I can talk about that, and I can talk to other people. I can talk to you. We can, just kind of get this information out there. So it's been really interesting to me that I actually have a place to put what I consider kind of whatever, it's just some knowledge, but what will I ever do with that?
Yeah.
So one of my favorite guests that we ever talked to on Mormon Media Reviews was Tom Doggett. Do you remember this?
Oh yeah.
Find Mormon videos.
Yeah.
Because, he collects all of these. He has a wonderful YouTube channel, and all in one place are all of these videos that I grew up watching. And so he and I were kind of going back and forth. He'd mention a few lines of something and I'd say, oh, that was Bitter Winds, and I think Steve was like, oh my gosh, he really does have a weird knowledge of all this, all this church video type stuff. So it's been really fun to actually talk to and meet the people that are also involved in this kind of information and stuff, and to be able to communicate in that way. So it's been a place for me to, put my hobbies.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and it's been fun because the part of now Rebecca's not always my co-host. Sometimes I
Okay.
just do it solo.
Mhm.
And one of the things that the other aspect of Mormon Media Reviews has been to also start a showcase other podcasters.
Mhm.
Maybe they're somewhat established or they're just getting started. Valerie Hamaker, and we got with the oh man, there's like I've helped launch like 3 or 4 podcasts already, including
You have. Yep.
Mormonish,
Oh, that's
which
true. My own
hosted
little
Landon.
foray into the podcast world. That's right. Everyone has to have one.
Everybody has to have a podcast. Yeah,
Everyone has to
exactly.
have one. That's right.
So, but yeah, it's been just a remarkable year. And I just want to thank you so much, Rebecca, for being part of this journey. And, I tell people, I said, we really haven't physically interacted that much because I literally, when I'm in Utah, I'm so busy.
Yeah.
But the only time I get to see you is like at meetups or
Real quick in a meet and greet. I'm like, hey, Steve, how's it going? But I think I talked to you on the phone more than anybody, including my husband. So
well, that's
we're
great.
very
So,
connected, very
Rebecca,
connected.
Rebecca, was there anything else you wanted to bring up about this awesome year that we just had?
Well, I just, I made a list of all of our guests and
Okay,
I
read them off.
actually,
Let's thank each and every one of them.
I couldn't even believe it. The ones that, and these are not in any order. We had Gaynor Brunson, Jen Camp, Nigel Kennett, Tom Doggett, Jennifer Champeau, Jeff Pingree, The Good Shepherds, directors. We had Liz Phillips, Jim Bennett. This is Under Banner of Heaven. Benjamin Schaefer, Under Banner of Heaven. We had Mormonish. We talked about my new podcast. We had Hannah Sariak of Under Banner of the Heaven, Lindsay Hanson Park, Under the Banner of Heaven. And then there's a couple more that we've taped this year, but we haven't dropped yet, which will drop in the new year. But I just went through this list, and I mean, every single one of them was such an amazing conversation, was such an interesting person doing such an incredible thing. And I just love it. And I feel like these people, we're still in contact with them. We may have them on again.
Yep.
They're due. In fact, one notable guest that I thought really made an impact was Emmy Award making documentary filmmaking for Jeff Pingree, and his video, The Return of Elder Pingree, was amazing. We talked about that. Just had an incredible interview, and Steve and I were so impressed with the documentary that we're kind of collaborating together to have a, kind of a screening, which
Yeah.
so in the new year, there's going to be some new information
Yeah,
on that.
and we're going to give you some information after the New Year's. I want to also say my Patreons. I've already given a sneak peek to my Patreons. We taped a video talking about what we're going to be doing next time I'm in Utah in February. So we got some really exciting things lined up, events. We're going to be we're going to step up our game for 2023. I think we're going to probably do Mr. Kruger's Christmas next year. That's my goal.
Oh, I
With
would
Jimmy
love that.
Stewart. We're going to get permission, right? Because that's just what's going to happen.
You know what? If you could get Christmas Snows, Christmas Wins, I feel like you can do anything. So
great.
I love it. And I'm still holding out for the Spanky Ward video. That would be really fun if we could talk about those two.
Yeah, so maybe we'll release the Spanky Ward video this week.
No, and if you think about it, we didn't even start Mormon Media Reviews until, let's see, was it March or May when Under the Banner of Heaven? I mean, this is more like 6 months, not even really a year, and we've already had these amazing guests. So, boy, I can't even imagine what we're going to accomplish in the new
absolutely.
year.
Yeah, and and of course our guy Doggett there with the hard to find Mormon videos. He kind of schooled us on like copyrights and what's public domain. So I think we are probably also going to maybe do some more of these videos where we talk through the movie, where we go through it. I think we already have a few ideas for movies we want to do. So watch out for those too. So folks, this has been a great year. Maybe in the description, you could tell us what was your favorite episode, whether it's Mormon book reviews or our segments we do on Mormon movie reviews. And also, I have Rebecca's been a co-host. I also taped an interview with Valerie Hamaker, where she's a special co-host, where we actually taped an interview with the one and only Carolyn Pearson. And we're going to be doing hopefully a series of interviews with Carolyn. And so there's so many things. And maybe so I had Valerie, I've had Nathan Smith, and I've had and Rebecca as co-hosts. I would like for you to maybe make recommendations of who you think also would make a great co-host for an occasional episode here on the program as well. So I just want to wish all of you a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and Happy Holidays. Season's greetings. What do you have to say, Rebecca?
I think you've pretty much covered every Christmas greeting, but you're absolutely right. I just hope everybody has a wonderful holiday season. I hope that you're surrounded with family and friends and just have an amazing time and look forward to all good things in the new year like we are.
Okay, everybody, thanks so much for hopping in on this episode. Give us your feedback. And just remember, if you want to support the program, there are links for financially for Patreon as well as PayPal. And of course, we have our merch store, MormonBookReviews.com. But just remember the most important thing, all the voices of the restoration will be heard here on Mormon Book Reviews.